Hiya folks. So we're going to look at some algebra today, and that's solving equations is a type of algebra. Okay, we're going to start off with some nice ones. You should, or these should at least ring a bell to you. If you're not feeling confident with them, don't worry, you're going to have a chance to practice them. The first ones we're going to look at are called one-step equations, and they're called that because they take one step to solve. So to remind ourselves, when we ask you to solve something, okay, we ask you to solve an equation, it means we want to find out what the x is representing, okay, or whatever variable they've used. They might have used a, b, c, d. X is most common. It can only be one value, and we can find out what that is. So we work here with inverses, okay. So the first thing, we're trying to isolate the x. We're trying to get it on its own. So we're trying to get everything else away from it. We want our answer to be x equals something. So we look here first, and remember, 4x means, we don't write it, but it means 4 multiplied by x, okay? So 4 multiplied by x is 16. So we do the inverse of multiply by 4, and we divide by 4. And we do that on both sides, okay? Now, if we do 4x divided by 4, we just get 1x, because 4x divided by 4 leaves us with just the 1x, but we don't write the number 1. And we do it on the other side as well. Divide 16 by 4 and we get 4. Okay, and there's your answer. Now we make sure it works. We substitute it back in. So we put the 4 where the x is, and we should get 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. So it works. Okay, let's go down to this next one here. So 5x equals 20. So again, we're going to do the inverse. Instead of x times 5, we're going to put a divide by 5 instead, because that's the opposite of multiply. Do that on both sides. 5x divided by 5 is just x. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And to double check, we substitute 4 in. 5 multiplied by 4 is 20. It works. Okay, these ones look a little bit scary, don't they? They do, just because they look like fractions. But don't worry, it works the same way. Don't forget this line means to divide. Okay, so we've got x divided by 3 is 4. So instead of divide, we do the inverse, which is to multiply by 3 on both sides. So x divided by 3 then multiplied by 3 is just x, because those two things kind of undo each other. And 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. And we can check if it works, because we can put 12 divided by 3, which is 4. So it works. We've got the right answer. And that's the nice thing with these. If you come out of an exam, having done some of these, you should know if you've got it right, because you can check it and make sure it's right. Okay, and the last one here, something divided by 6, x divided by 6 is 6. So the opposite of divide by 6 is multiply by 6. We do it to both sides, like we always do it to both sides in equations, to keep them balanced. Divided by 6, multiplied by 6 cancel out. And you'll find that it always happens like that. And 6 multiplied by 6 is 36. Okay, so let's check. 36 divided by 6 is 6. Okay, so that's the first one. They're your one-step equations. Now, no prizes for guessing, but they are two-step equations. Okay, so our two-step equations are when it takes 2 steps to solve. Okay, it's just that nice. And the way you need to look at these, because people sometimes get muddled up with what to do first. And I know even when I was at school, I didn't really know what I was supposed to do first. I just kind of had a guess. And I don't want you guys to have a guess. I want you to know, because it's much nicer when you know. So what we need to think of is what is happening to x, okay? So what's happening to x here first? And we kind of think a bit like BIDMAS, I suppose. The first thing that's happening to the x here is it's been multiplied by 3. And then we're adding 2 to get 17. So we go the other way, okay? We have to undo all of that. So if the x is multiplied by 3, then we add 2. The first thing we undo is undo the add 2. You could almost look at it like a function machine. We're putting x in, we're multiplying it by 3, then we're, another arrow, then we're adding 2, and we're getting out 17. Function machines are great for these ones, okay? And then we need to go backwards to find out x. So 17, go back. The inverse of add 2 is to subtract 2. Don't forget the inverse is the opposite. Then the inverse of multiply by 3 is to divide by 3. And then whatever comes out here is our answer. So let's see. 17 subtract 2 is 15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So we know, don't forget to finish it off with x equals 5. Okay, now the more you do of these, the more comfortable you're going to feel with doing them, because they quite often, they do take on quite a similar format, these two-step equations, either this one or this one. So the next one here, let's look at it again the same way. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do this one without doing all of that so you can see the kind of the two different methods that you might work with. So yeah, we look here and we see that x has been multiplied by 4 and then subtracting 4. So the first thing we do is the opposite of that. We add 4 to both sides. So we add 4, add 4. Okay, so we're kind of working backwards through BIDMAS almost. So we get 4x, take away 4, add 4. Well, that kind of take negative 4, add 4, 0. So we just end up with 4x. 16 add 4 is 20. And now we're back at a one-step equation, okay? We've already done one step and we've got one left like what we just did. So x multiplied by 4, the inverse is to divide by 4 on both. Oh, that's a bit close, isn't it? It looks like that's part of the equation there. Divide by 4, so we get x equals 5, okay? Okay then, so these ones again, don't panic just because they look a bit scary. Let's try doing the factor, the kind of the machine first, okay, the function machine. So first thing that happens to x, it goes in, and here we're adding 2 first, okay, and then all of that, whatever that is, we divide by 5. Okay, now have a think about that, and 6 comes out, because if we divided by 5 first, it wouldn't work. What about the 2? Okay, because the 2 has to be divided by 5 as well. So the first thing we're doing is adding the 2 and then dividing by 5. So that's what's happening there. So let's go back the other way. So 6 goes in. The inverse of divide by 5 is multiply by 5. The inverse of add 2 is subtract 2. And out of that should come what x is. So let's see. 6 multiplied by 5 is 30. Subtract 2 is 28. X equals 28. And again, I didn't do it for these ones, but I should have done. We need to check it. 28 add 2 is 30. Divided by 5 is 6. Okay, you know you've done it right. Okay, the last one. The last one. So here we've got x subtract 4 all divided by 3, which is 4. So the last thing that happened here was to divide by 3. So we're going to do the inverse of that first, okay? That's to multiply by 3 on both sides. So we're going to end up here with x minus 4. On this side, 4 multiplied by 3 is 12, okay? And now we're back to a one step, which is quite a nice one here because we've got x subtract 4. Okay, so the inverse of subtract 4 is to add 4 to both sides. We should get x equals 16. Okay, let's check it. 16 minus 4 is 12, divided by 3 is 4. Okay, so there's some examples of your two-step ones. When you're working through your worksheet, have a look back at this at the same time because it'll just help you to kind of get started with them.